Okay, hello. So for the continuation of our recording for the completion of orders in this current demo project. So this time, just a quick overview. We've had last two videos creating the customer view, the customer transaction for CRUD and the product transaction for CRUD. And at the same time, we've also built up the main method or the main class to have the execution or the access of all panels that we are going or to all modules that we're going to exit in this program. So just an overview, we've already finished the customer transaction, the product transaction. Now I will try to show you the demonstration of executing the orders transaction, which in this concept we will try to somehow check or we will try to somehow execute a transaction in which it will get a primary key from the other tables, and in that way we're going to have a connection in this database that we will be making. Later on, I'll be creating a table orders that would somehow be connected to these two table to somehow reference the ID of the customer and the product that they're going to buy. So for now, in order for me to execute the orders, is it's better first to create the class. So it's very important that you have to create the class first. So here in the main package, I will be creating a new Java class and I will name this as orders. So orders. Now we have the orders class, and same with the products and customer. We're gonna create a method to call out later dito sa ato ang main function. So this is order main method. This is our order transaction, which in this case we're going to have to create again the set of actions that we're going to do. So I'm just going to refer in this one right here. I'm gonna copy the do while transaction for this one with a scanner. Okay, and this is coming from customer, and I'll just paste it here on our old transaction while removing as well the existing functions, since these functions are just for customer. We're going to have to create another functions right here in this class for orders transaction, from adding to removing to updating and deleting. So instead of customer, we're gonna have add order, view order, update order, and yeah, delete an order. Okay, now so first task that I'll be doing is creating the order add transaction, in this case we're going to have to create a method for adding an order. So I'm going to create here a private void add order. So in adding the order, basically we're just going to what will happen here is we cannot order yet. We cannot add order yet. That is because we still have no location to place these orders transaction. So we're gonna have to create a new table, and we will name this as orders, TBL order. And in this table, we're gonna have to create our first primary key, and we will call this as the order ID. This is integer, and just make sure that this is auto incremented as well. Same with our customer and our product. So we're gonna create that as order. Now we're gonna have to reference or we're gonna create the product ID or the customer ID first, the CID coming from the customer table, and we're gonna make this as integer, same with what we had with customer ID. But this time we're gonna have to check the foreign key and make sure to configure this one that the foreign is coming from the table customer, referring the column customer ID or the CID from the from the table customer. Now, on update and delete, we're gonna have to restrict this one in order for us to avoid uh, losing the integrity of our data. So here's what will happen if we're not gonna restrict our data. It's like we're going to delete a specific order, or we cannot delete an existing data from customer ID without first deleting all the data that exists in the current table. In Visayan terms, it's like natay table. If naghimo tag transaction, if nipalita ani nga product, ang product ID na gamit na sa order table, di na siya pwede i-delete kay ang product nga na product ID nga gigamit sa order table dili na pwede i-delete kay gigamit man siya currently sa order table. Okay, so that is to avoid like uh, corruption in the system, and at the same time it also makes secure transaction for our users and to secure the processes nga dili ma-delete ang transaction and wala na pwede ma-edit or ma-remove ng product. Okay, what if nausab ang product name? Here, that's something we will also try to modify later, adding as a validation. Now, an adding CID, we will also be referring in this order. Kay CID refers to who is the customer who buys this current product. So in this case, I'm gonna add the product ID. This is also integer. This is also a foreign key. Just make sure you're referring from table product. On update, on delete, we're gonna have to restrict this one, restrict, and just make sure to apply. Now, another one is we're going to have to make sure to add the quantity, no? Kung pila ka buok order, quantity, pila ka buok ang palitan aning order. This is like numeric. Okay. Now, another one is we're gonna have to add the total due, the order due. This is also integer in that case. No, this is numeric since this is something that we can calculate later. The due, we will also have to enter the cash receive for this transaction. So order R cash or receive cash. This is also numeric. The cash, and another one is the date of the transaction. So the order date. This is like text lang. No, okay, wala man tayo data type nga date man ko dere. So we're gonna use text. And make sure to include like 20 or 30 just to make sure. Another one is since nanatay date, now the status of this product. So we're gonna have to add order status. So is this pending or is this success? So we're gonna have to use text and like 20 lang ka text. And yeah, we're gonna have 8 columns in this table. Make sure to save that one by clicking this check. And then now we have our table order. Now, next one is we're gonna have to work now on inserting an existing order sa atuang column. So in this case, now in this program, we're gonna have to like insert a record, but yeah, we're gonna before we display the record, what will happen here is we're going to insert an existing customer and an existing product ID. So we cannot insert a product that does not exist in the product table, and we cannot insert a customer that does not exist in the customer table. So which in this case, we're gonna have to make sure that the ID that we're going to add sa customer is existing sa table customer. But before that, we're gonna have to make sure nga maka-insert sa ta. So first thing is atong i-display ang customer table para makapili ang current user kung kinsa nga customer ang nipalit. So ato i-display daan ang customer. After displaying cs that naraman to diri cs that view. Okay, if dili ma-view, just make sure to go back to customer and i-public lang ang view customer. Make sure to public para ma-access siya diri sa cs na to. So cs that view customer. Now, if ma-view na ang customer, we're gonna have to add south, and we're gonna ask the user to select or enter the ID of the selected customer, or enter the ID of the customer. So now, we're gonna have to use the scanner class. Ako lang i-add na lang dire. Scanner sc is equals to new scanner. Make sure nga na atong system dot in, and using int cost cid is equals to sc that next int, we can now use that id to make sure nga ni-exist ba na siya. But before we do so, ako lang sa ning i-add para testing lang na ako, no? We're gonna have to call the orders. No, ayaw lang dira, babaw lang sa switch. Mag-call ko sa, dili na ako mag-call aning customer, but instead, mag-call na lang ako sa orders. Or is equals to new orders. Now, using or, we can now select the add order, and also making sure nga sa case 3, mag-create a case 3 din and break. Now, by copying this one, so sa case 3, tawag ko na to ang order class using or is equals to new order or no, this is orders, I think. Yeah, the class name is orders. Now, we can now order or that what? Order transaction. So, para ni Karan, we're gonna have to click the 3 and mugawas na ang order. Customer panel, wala na ako na-ilista ng name. Ako lang sa ilisan kadayot. So, I'm gonna go to orders. This is orders panel. Let's say, let's go to orders. Nanata sa orders panel. Now, ako lang na ng output dito sa papo. Para mas visible ang output. No, ano nung output nun. Okay, so here's our output. So now the output displays, no, not this output, the other output. Current output here. So now we're gonna add the orders. Let's see if they display ba ang customer. So yeah, now we were able to display the customer. So let's say if I input 3, it should not like go because there's no existing 3 ID. So now I'm gonna give you a hint, or no, I'm gonna give you an example on how to like create here, how to make happen nga maka-create ta og what we call this as validation whether this customer is existing in the customer table. What if ni-select siya wala ni exist nga customer? So here sa akong config, you go to config, I will be adding one one code right here sa kinaubsan. Gitawag na nako siya single value. No, kani siya. This code right here, ako ning kapihon. Kani siya. So, aning void set prepared statement. Ako ibutang sa ato ang Google Colab. So, tara get value method na adihay na code hiya ang taas. Kapihan na. And then i-paste dere. And ang atong gamiton ani is kani manggod si get single value. So, we will be using that get single value late dire sa atong order. So once na paste na ninyo, okay na siya, walay error. If na error, i-import lang ninyo. But if nadag import, then you can ask questions sa ako. Now, if nigana na siya dire sa atong config, na siya sud sa config, it's right under sa delete record. Mubalik ko sa orders, and here, I will be creating a while nga loop. What is this while loop? This while loop, the purpose of this while loop is to make sure, but I'll just call config lang sa diri sa babaw. Config conf is equals to new config, and we're gonna use conf here to get the single value. Now our query would go like selecting, no? Selecting here, we're gonna call, or we can create here SQL na lang para separated siya. String SQL is equals to this, and then the SQL is select from, no, select ID. We're going to select the ID. There is a customer, which is the CID, I think. Yeah, the CID. So select CID from TBL customer, where CID is equals to one parameter. And then the parameter is right here. Tawag mo na to ang gi-input nga CID. Okay? So, and make sure to add equals 0. So now, if naka-equal 0 na, we're gonna have to say a message that customer does not exist. Doesn't exist. Does not exist. Select again. So I'll remove the ln lang. And then this time, we're gonna have to just copy this one, the CID, and this one right here. Okay, so I'll try to run this. And ato ta sa orders, mag-add tag order, mag-select tag customer nga wala ni exist. Customer does not exist, select again. Let's say 3 does not exist, but when we say 1, it does now exist. No? So nipadayon na ang program. So let's continue. Going back to orders. Now we're gonna do the same with the product. So it should be an existing product. So as you see, copy na nako, ilisan lang nako dere. And then this is PID, product ID. Then this is product SQL. This is customer SQL. Just make sure nga nausab sa dere. See? And then this is the product SQL. Select, then you have to change this, the query, which is should be referring to the product table. So product ID from TBL product, where product ID is equals to the product ID nga usbon sa nimo si CID dere. So ilisan dere nimo dere, product does not exist, and ilisan sa nimo og PID for update. So when we run, you could see that if we add orders, we're gonna select a customer that exists, and okay, ni-display sa product pero wala ta ka-display sa product table. So this time ato sa i-display ang product table. So before ni, we're gonna have to do this one. Kapihon lang nimo. Babaw sa product, ilisan ni nato og product class. Tago na tong product class, ilisan nato og PR, and then using PR, we can now that view product. Para ni karan, when we add order right here, magawas ang customer, magawasad ang product table. Okay, so existing a product is also one. So yeah, if we select tag one, existing na sad ang product. So now, as what was required on the order, It requires quantity, it requires the due amount, it requires the receive cash, the due date, and the status. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna have to make sure nga maka-input sa si user ani nga mga transactions. So here's what I will do. I will go back to the orders, and right under this one, magpa-enter ta sa user og quantity. So enter quantity. And using a data type float, no, double, quantity is equals to sc dot next double. After quantity is, what was that? Due, cash. No, take note that the due is not something i-input. Dapat ang due is automatic calculation na siya, no? So the how do we calculate the what we call this as the due? You have to take note that part of the column product ID nag-existed to ang price. So to get the total due amount, we have to multiply the inputted quantity of the user multiply to the price of the product that is currently selected. So here's what we will do. We will have to create here a string. I will call this string as price query is equals to the query to get the price of the product that we just had selected. So here's what will happen. Select price from TBL product where this right here, no, where PID is equals to one parameter. Just take note of that. Now, since ganina sa config nag-add ta og atong get single value, we can still use this method. We can recycle that method by saying right here sa ubos, mag-add ta diri og variable price is equals to conf that get single value. You call here the price query and you call the PID nga gi-input nato ganina and then terminator. And to create the total, or let's say double due, is equals to price, which is what we just have retrieved from the database, times to the quantity that we just input or that the user inputted. So now, di naman na i-input, display na lang ta na dito. So, system.print.println, we're gonna have to display here the price, what? The total due. And that's plus, and you will have to call the due amount. So here, I'm gonna add south lang to have a quite separation or to make sure nga mag-highlight ang ato ang due. After the due, we're gonna ask a cash from the user. Kay since ang atong order nag-require man og receive cash, date, and status. So here's what will happen. We're gonna have to ask the user to enter the received cash. And after we enter the received cash, we will have to make sure that this is a double because it's a numeric definition in our database. And we will say receive cash is equals to sc that next double. Now, you don't have to kanang you also have to make sure that the cash is sufficient enough to pay the total due amount. So just in case that the user inputs a gamay nga kwarta, if mag-input ang user o gamay nga kwarta kaysa sa bayranan, then we have to catch that error or we have to create a validation that if the cash of the user, the received cash, is less than the total nga ibayaran na niya or the due which we have just created ganina, then we're gonna say here south invalid amount, or let's say insufficient amount. Try again. So we're gonna ask the user to try again. And now we're gonna have to update using our cache for the loop. No? Okay, so now secure na atong our cache. Now we're gonna have to next requirement is the date. So take note, it would be so much a bother if we're gonna have to like input date, which is the current transaction, is the current time and the current date. Why not create a function that gets the current date right away? So in this case, in Java, there's what we call as local date nga class. So let's say cur date, we'll get the cur date is equals to local date that now. So now, and then we're gonna have to format this, no? We call this as time formatter nga class in Java. So to format is equals to new date time for matter. That of pattern, we have to change the pattern into the Philippines pattern, which is the one we're accustomed to by month, date, and for years. Now, if mag-error gali ang local date or ang date formatter, i-add import na sila. No? Add import date time formatter. Double check lang sa spelling. Just make sure that you are using the right spelling. So for my case, tanawa wrong spelling. So na formatter ako nasuot instead of formatter. So careful lang taan ang mga error ha. And make sure if mag-error gali ang off pattern, just make sure nga mag-import ka sa local date. Ako sa sure kung nana ang local date, nana sa ng time formatter. Now we just have to make sure nga ang kaning off pattern is it's gonna work. So wait, cannot find symbol. Let me double check. Okay. Let me type this again. Date time formatter that of pattern. Then make sure that the pattern is right, by the way. That's capital M, small d, and small y. And using a string, we're gonna try to get that one to formatted date or the current date is equals to current date, no, current, this one, current date, that format date and time using format and then terminator. Okay, so wait, I'll try to run this one. Wait, nag-error ang output. Wait. Yeah. I'll check sa error ani nga off pattern. Yan ang error na nga off pattern. Okay, so make sure that the data type there is formatter and you call formatter right here. So here's the error ato. You just have to remove the new, and since it's not a new, it's just a rendition. No, it's just like a new version. So just make sure to remove the new. And now, pag run, this is the variable nga atong kuan gamiton sa pagkuha sa date. Now the last one is the status. So the status di lang na nato i-input but ang status automatic na siya nga pending. Let's say string status is equals to pending. No? Kay ang mo-approve man ana, let's just assume that the system ang mo-approve ana is the admin or if na-receive na ang order. So dili na ako i-input ang status. Now, I have all the data I require for the insertion of data. So nakakuha na ako sa order. Order ID is not something to input, but CID, yes, this one right here. I will reuse the CID. For the product ID, I will use the PID right here. For the quantity, which is inputted by the user right here. Now for the due is to get the total due, I will use the due variable. The OR cache or the order received cache is something that the user input the R cache right here. And the last one is the date and status, which is I will use the date and I will use this status. Now we can still reuse the config, the function from the config, which is katong add record by creating here a string for query. So take note, in na to insert order query is equals to insert into TBL orders. Tapos the first one is the CID. Again, the order ID is auto incremented. The PID, O quantity, O quantity. Spelling lang yun. Careful lang yun sa spelling. O due, O R cache, O date, and O status. Then mag-add ta diri og values. And then, i-enter lang na ako sa ubos. Ay lang natang tanga ang mga na-add. And then, no, sige ako na lang isumpay. Ako na natong isumpay. Ang pila man ikabuok? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, there should be like 7 kabuok parameters as well. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So, that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And to make sure lang 7 and then yeah. And then ako lang ning i-enter para dili kayo siya layo, no? Para dito ra siya in one line of code. After that one is na ko query using conf, which is I declare na sa babaw ani nga method conf that add record, no, na naman dere. You just have to call order query providing 7 kabuok parameters for values. So you can reuse na the variable starting from CID to PID to what? Quantity, I think. Yeah, it's a quantity. The next one is the due. Right here, the due. Kani? The R cache for the receive cache. This one. And the date. And lastly is the status. Yeah, I think that's it. If we can now we can now check. Let's see lang south added successfully. Or if nanay inserted successfully sa kuan, pwede ra ka dili mag-added. Let's see if na ba inserted successfully dito. Ay na record added successfully, so we can now like remove this one na lang para di na siya duplicate. Let's try and see, no? And let's say 3, it's 3 and add tag order. Let's say nag-exist ang nag-enter tag customer nga wala ni exist, invalid, karon ni selecta. Select tag wala ni exist nga product, let's say 1 quantity, okay, it's gonna work, it's working. Let's say the quantity is, let's say 4. So pila ang price, that's like 50 times 4, wait, that's 200. Now enter receive cash, I have a cash of, let's say 100. Dawaton ba? No, dili. Let's say 500. So gidawat, naatay error. SQL missing no such table as orders. No, I'm not using, yeah. We're not using order, but order. Kana, and then just kuan lang no, I have really issues. I just don't want like ln sa akong code manggod. I'll just remove this as well. And yeah, so now run. Let's say 3 for the orders. Let's say add order. Let's say 1. Let's say 1. Let's say the quantity is 4. That's also 200. Let's say 500 is your cash. And record added successfully. Yes. But wa pa ko'y code sa view order. I will try to add the view order code to see if na-add ba gyud ang order. So, you can reuse the one that is existing in the in the customer. This one, and you go back to orders. Right under this method, mag-add na og instead of view customer, this is view orders. Yeah, then select all from now. In terms of orders, kanisa dya, this is quite tricky. Okay, you have to make sure nga ang makuha ra man gud nato sa table order is the ID. We cannot get the name. So we have to make sure nga makuha na to ang name sad sa user. Since I'm going to display a summary report, dili na nako necessary i-display tanan. Ang ako i-display ang order ID lang, ang customer name. Sir, unsaon pag-display sa customer name nga ang naa diha is customer ID man. By using joins, we can use joins now. So one example is here. So select pili lang ka sa mga data nga imong i-display. So I'm just going to refer from the customer, which is the CF name or CL name lang. I will use CL name. CL name. I know order ID una. I'll start with order ID. CL name. Then I will also be selecting unsa nga product yang gi-order, which is the product ID or the product name na lang, no? So P name. Sir, wala man na sa orders, mag-joins ta ani. After the P name is unsa pa nga mga necessary information ang i-order. Let's say iyahang due lang ato i-display ang due, quantity, due, and the status. Okay? The quantity, the due, ano na lang, the quantity, the due. I know the due, the date, and the status. Okay? So let's go use due, o due, o date, and o status. Now make sure that whatever status, and make sure nga mag-add pa rin ani from what? From table order join, let's say left join TBL customer that on, ko lang pa enter ha, ko lang enter on TBL customer that CID C.CID is equals to TBL order dot CID. Then mag-add na sa tag left join TBL product on TBL product that the product ID is equals to TBL order dot P ID. Okay, so we have to make sure that this is the query. Now, ato tanang ni match. So first one is the order ID, the customer name. This is the product. Here is the due amount. Here is the what? The date. Kaya mo match, dapat mo match there. Then the last one is the status. Let's just add a status. Now here, i-match na to ang OID from the database. The CL name, we're using CL name by the way. The product name, the P name, the O due from the due table or the order table, and the O date. And the last one is the O, no, That's 0. O status. Dayon, yeah, I think this is gonna go. Let's say run. Ato to sa order. No, wait. Na F1 ako. Orders and then view orders. No, this is not gonna work yet because we still haven't called view orders sa ato ang case number 2. So that's or that view orders. And we can just like even call this one right here. So what's the error? This is public. And yeah, what's supposed? I know Terminator. Okay, let's try and run this one. Let's see if what will happen. Let's select order. Let's view the order. Database missing, no such column as CID left. Okay. I think I have error right here. Sa CID left daw, murag wala na ako na sumpay. Left join right here. Table order. Let's see if na-add man ako siya space. Space and then enter. And then run. Balik. So I'm gonna run again. So let's say 3 and then view orders. No column, no such column, TBL order. No, that's not CID. Error na sad. That's C underscore ID right here from the database. Okay, so I'm gonna run it again. Where is that? So no kana come on go kita tong arrow ani. So let's say 3 and view orders. And yeah, here. They're gonna display the summary of orders. But wait, yeah, the order ID, the last name, the product name. No, this is not the one. No, this is not the. Wait, let me check again if mao ba tong run. This was supposed to be customer. Run file though. Let's say run file. I'm opening the wrong app, but I'll just double check. No, run ta again. Okay, let's go to orders. Let's view order. Okay, so here it is. Sakto na nga file. So ang open na file is tara. The order ID, the customer, the test, and the status is pending. Ganina kay automatic pending man siya kay default man ta. And the date. So this is gonna be something we will do. So if we're gonna continue, yes, and let's add another order. So si Mike nipalit na sad og product nga test 1, tapos nipalit siya og 5, ana po. Ina to yung cash is 1,000 na siya ikuan. Then makita na ang added order ni Mike. But all of these order are still pending pa. No? So that's something you will have to work on. Okay, so I think that's quite long now for the video. So I've run for like 43 minutes. So I'll be adding na lang the update and delete for the next video. So I hope you get something. Make sure to take note of the Google Colab and yeah, just pause and kuan lang. If you have question, you can contact me during your time schedules, but not on the weekends and not on holidays. Okay, thank you so much and see you in the next video. Bye bye.